Hi everyone, this is Darren with SimNation. Of course, today is the uh, 2059 WWPF Draft. Sorry, I'm doing the normal housekeeping stuff that I normally do. So just bear with me 1 second while I get everything started and get everything moving, and then we should be able to kick this thing off. Just so everyone knows, we've already completed the first 10 picks. We did that offline. I'll talk about those picks. But this will be a little bit different than normal because I'm trying something that I haven't done before, which may or may not work. Essentially, what I'm trying to do is allow me to splice between an older version of the file and a new version of the file, so that way I can have the beginning of the draft, since we're already somewhat in. So just bear with me 1 second and we'll get started. Okay, so let me bounce between these windows real quick. And I see Curtis is here, so I have at least one viewer. Just forewarning about this draft. It is a defensive heavy draft. I think many people who follow my streams know that over the course of history, WWPF has become more and more offensive oriented. So what I'm trying to do is balance that out and get it a little bit back to normal. We'll always be an offensive league at heart, but right now the defense just cannot compete, period. So the intent here will be to, over the next two drafts, have a little bit more defensive heavy drafts, change weights and other things, which in a sandbox seems to have got us to a point where teams aren't averaging 50, 60 points a game. They're not throwing for over 600 yards a game and things like that. And it's more balanced to what kind of like the NFL felt like maybe 10 years ago. I'm not a big fan of the current NFL. I'll just be candid with that because I think that while there's higher percentage of passing, it's kind of boring. So what you will see in this draft is a lot of defensive players going. So the consensus pick at number 1 was that the Buffalo Bills were going to take John Ladner. Well, they did. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and launch the video. And then I'm going to switch screens to the current one. And if everything works right, this should be pretty seamless for everybody. So if it doesn't, then this may be one of the shorter streams ever, and I may just capture this as like the beginning. So without further ado, here's the video. And also let me know, make sure that, let me know if you can hear me okay. Let's leave it though. Hey, DWK. Okay, just to make sure nothing weird happens, we're going to switch. I did this earlier, so this should work. And hopefully you all can now see a war room screen. Let me go ahead and close this file out. Hey Tony. Only thing anyone's missed is the introductory video where I used an older version of the game file to be able to pull that video off because, of course, we are already well into the draft. Let's just go back real quick and do a recap. Of course, the Buffalo Bills, as expected, took John Ladner, the linebacker out of UCLA, who is pretty much a generational player. And if we look at Mr. Ladner, 92 overall, really good strength. That is good strength for a linebacker to have. He's agile, he's smart, he's got good enough speed to be able to compete in short coverage and zone, and he hits like a dump truck. So he is a very, very strong number one pick, and someone that you can build around your franchise around. So this was a solid first pick, in my opinion. If we go to number two was, sorry, just moving windows around here, was Tony with John Johnson. Again, another pretty solid pick. He's out of Oklahoma. He is got elite strength. He is agile for a defensive tackle, pretty smart for a defensive tackle. He hits really well. He'll bring people down when he gets a hold of them. His speed is that of a defensive end, so he's going to get a lot of penetration on the inside. And as you can see, this is a Gary Moore type player. For those who don't know Gary was commish here before I was, along with Frankie and Skelter. Gary always picked people who were high caliber personality. And this is someone that I think he would pick. Kind of ironic he went to Oklahoma, but and as you can see, he's a nose tackle, so he's going to get extra ability with run stopping. So just great solid pick there. Soa traded up to get the third pick from Washington, who's Udo, and he took Sean Matthews. Sean Matthews, I know a lot of people are harping on his arm, but what they're missing with Matthews is this is an agile quarterback. This is a fast quarterback. This is someone who actually can move in the pocket. So I would say that despite his arm strength, he is a system quarterback. He's a West Coast quarterback, more pro-style short passing. You put him in that system, he's going to be really good. He's also someone you could put in the gun and have him run the ball. He's got great durability with his endurance, excuse me, and he's only going to get better. He's got a strong work ethic. For transparency, I did have Texas, I think, when he was a junior, and I built the whole offense around him, and Texas had a pretty solid season, despite the lack of an arm. Now, you can work the arm up. I think Shark is right with what he said earlier, which is the best he's going to get is an 80 arm. He could get up to 82, but he's just a solid pick, and I know a lot of people don't like him, but if you're the Dolphins who use a power running game and you have quick wide receivers with quick twitch and speed, he's a good quarterback for you, especially as you're transitioning away from Marcus Witten, who, of course, was like a godlike quarterback. So really solid pick here. I know some people don't think so. I do. I actually think he was the better of the two quarterbacks in the draft, but we'll see how it all pans out. Philadelphia Eagles, this of course is Don Luckey. He's back. He took Jerome Williamson. I think from Louisiana Monroe, for those who don't know Louisiana Monroe, this is Skelter's team. Jerome Williamson is a solid defensive tackle. Not as strong as you saw with Johnson. He's not as agile. He's not as fast. He hits about the same, and his endurance is a little bit lower. It may have been a little bit too high to take Williamson. I don't know that I would have taken him in the top 5. But if you need a defensive tackle, he is a really solid option. He will hold that middle and fill the space. At 305 pounds, he's a little bit more on the light end, but that's something we're working through. He'll probably be 315 pounds by the time training camp ends. I am looking at augmenting the defensive tackles a little bit more. So let's move past him. And then, of course, this was the pick that Udo traded his number 3 for. He gets number 5. I hate Brogan. I'm just going to put that out there. And I have a personal reason for hating Brogan. He was a Maryland defensive end who left after his freshman year because I only played him in 1 game, despite the fact that the guy ahead of him was much better. But Brogan had a very successful career at Louisiana Lafayette, who was invisible witness for the longest period of time. Really strong, really agile, smart, fast, hits hard. This is a game-changing pick for Washington. He is going to make life hell for New York and for Dallas and Philadelphia. He will get into the backfield. He'll be able to play against the run. He's going to probably go up another 20 pounds by the time training camp ends. He is a little short, but all in all, he's a natural talent, which means he's just going to get better. And as a faithful baller, he's going to be loyal to the Washington Commanders. So really, really good, solid pick. He will hopefully get better as a defensive end with his skill, but I like this pick, especially in the top 5. I thought he might go higher. The next pick, I really like. I know I will get shit for the fact that I keep putting FCS schools into the draft. I know the reality of the world we live in now with Neil in transfer portals and stuff like that, but the fact is outside of GS and CFL, there's no way to replicate that reality other than for me to take a player out of one league and put him into a different league. But James Hill, of course, is out of Albany. Really, really productive career at Albany. This is a solid pick for Tony. Not the strongest guy, but he is tall. He can compete with wide receivers in the hand fighting game. Agility, good agility. Intelligence could be better. He does know how to tackle, and he is fast. So he should be able to keep up with most wide receivers. He is a press corner. Tony will have to deal with this, which is the low morale, but all in all, this is a guy who's just going to keep getting better, and he's a guy that will really help, hopefully, Tony to reestablish himself in the Indianapolis Colts in the AFC South. They have, if you follow this league for a couple seasons, they have yet to pick outside of the top 10 in the draft, so they don't have a good history right now. Soa traded to get number 7 for New Orleans, took Nathaniel Larson, who's arguably the best offensive lineman in the draft. And you can see why. He's strong, decent agility. Again, bear in mind, he's a guard, not a tackle, right? High intelligence. He's got decent speed. That's not bad for a guard. And he can block. His endurance is a little bit of a concern. But all in all, this is a guy that should be able to slot right in and be able to do things. And he's out of Georgia, so he comes from a good pedigree because that's Shark's team, and Shark traditionally pumps out very good players. Oakland Raiders, this is a CPU team. If you want to join our league, Oakland is probably the best team to take. Eugene Dixon, kind of sad to see him go, mostly just because I was hoping he would drop to Pittsburgh. But good linebacker. His strength isn't that big. He's more of an outside linebacker, but he hits hard and he can move in coverage. Again, endurance is a question for him. I think getting him in the top 10 is a little bit of a reach, but he's a solid coverage linebacker. And you can see here he had a pretty productive career at North Texas, even though North Texas isn't known for its competition. Now, I really like this next pick, which is Scott Fish. Scott Fish is the best wide receiver in this draft. Maybe not speed-wise, but definitely all around, he is a player who should start at Indianapolis. He's big, he's got decent strength, he's got agility, he makes solid plays. He was a really good player at Oklahoma. I did have Oklahoma when he was recruited, and so I recruited him, so I know quite a bit about him. He's a possession wide receiver, but he is a deep threat who will just be a nightmare for defensive backfields to deal with, especially if Tony implements a pass solid system, which he should be able to because he's got good quarterbacks. Up next is Chicago. This is Cotton. Cotton took Laverne Wynn, who's the only other quarterback I think that's worth a first-round pick. Some people might be wanting to change their picks right about now. Laverne Wynn out of Auburn. This is Invisible Witness's main team. Really solid pick. His intelligence isn't high. That's something that's going to have to be worked on for him to make good game decisions. But as you can see, he's got the arm and the accuracy. He's not a mobile quarterback by any stretch. But he did have a productive career at Auburn, even though he kind of came on and off the bench different seasons, but still threw for almost 12,000 yards and over 100 touchdowns. He is a clutch quarterback, which means that time and late in the second quarter or in the fourth quarter, he's just going to get better. And people will be drawn to him because he's a charismatic jock. So that kind of catches up with where we are. Now comes the fun part for me, which is to try to do 3 things at once. I have scoped out all the CPU teams already, and I have chosen who they are going to pick. So we'll go to the war room. Seattle is a CPU team. I don't really... Yeah, that's who I have. So this will break some people's hearts, and I apologize. I don't know why it's on Joshua Holmes, but we'll leave that alone. So Seattle will... And sorry, bear with me while I type. I'll move the mic a little bit because it's a little bit hard to type that way. Other than having a female name, this guy is really good. I think. We'll see. So they will pick Patricia Ricard, the linebacker out of William and Mary. Up next is Baltimore. I'm going to do these 2 quick picks in rapid succession. Baltimore's not going to choose a tackle. They have quite a few already. They're going to choose Edwin Hall out of Clemson. And that will bring us up to Simon. And we'll just jump over here and I'll let Simon know he's up. Yeah, hopefully you're doing better, Stuart. Having had stuff like that in the near past, it's no fun. Okay, that's Simon. Okay, so we'll look at Patricia Ricard. This one was interesting for me because when I tried to let Jim and I have access directly to the SQL database I use to create the draft file, it kept referring to Patricia as a she. So I had to actually change it. And it just was weird. So you see here, good strength, good agility, kind of smart, good speed, good tackling. Endurance could be better. Solid Gary-like player. And he is an average meddler, which that probably is not going to help. But pretty solid. I know a lot of people ask me about his stats. Just so everyone knows, GMCFL is just now getting to its 4th season of existence. So FBS players come from SNCFL. The FCS scores come from GMCFL, which is our FCS school. So, and now we'll look at Edwin Hall. I was pretty high on Edwin. Not looking forward to playing against him. Good strength, good agility, pretty good speed, especially for strong safety. He can play in the box. He can play in coverage. He's definitely not a team player by any stretch of this imagination. And he's a determined performer, which generally will translate personality-wise into giving him a little bit extra bump around his work ethic. So, and you can see here 13 sacks, 6 interceptions. He played for Clemson, who is, of course, Matt, which is another one of those schools that just is loaded. And it looks like Simon is making his thing. And Stewart hopefully will get to San Francisco relatively quick, but that's what you get for actually making the playoffs. I will say that there are a couple players out on the board right now that I'm kind of shocked are still there at 13. So he's going to take Cheek. Let me go back to the war room. Yep, this one will be easy. And then the Cleveland Browns are up next. I don't think that Bio's around, but we'll see. Yeah, he's got a list, so give me a second, and I'm going to pick for him. If I can spell. Go ahead and do that. Jacksonville, if I remember correctly, is CPU. I'll pick for them. But let's drop back real quick. So Cheek is one of the better tackles in this draft, at least from what I saw from Gemini. C Hill, 92 overall, 89 strength. Not elite strength, but he's got good agility. He's smart. He's got good speed. And he's a really overall solid blocker. Only concern here would, of course, be endurance. But he is a solid individual on the line. He's got good skill. He's a bookend tackle, which is just going to make it that much harder to get around him. Of course, out of that Oklahoma program, really, really solid player. There is a big board up DWK. If you look in the WWPF big board, there's Gemini's top picks, as well as I think that there was a different one. It's just the way I did it, I think, may be confusing. But you should see something that says Gemini's top picks, where I kind of talk about it. And then there was a couple other ones where, if you scroll up, you'll see me listing just names. So that's kind of the big board right now. Let's go back here and look at Mr. Begley, who I think is out of UVA. Generally, just so everyone knows, I live in Richmond, Virginia, so I'm literally like 45 minutes away from UVA. I'm probably the least UVA fan you'll ever meet. Of course, I'm a Maryland fan. There's a history, though. But Begley was really solid for UVA in this fictional award. You see here, really solid free safety. He's more of a box safety in many ways. But this is a solid pick for the Cleveland Browns. Not liking it, of course, because I have Pittsburgh. But you see here that he had a really strong career for the Cavaliers. And this will bring up Jacksonville, who is going to pick either a cornerback or defensive end. We'll go Scott Evers. So they'll draft Scott Evers, who's out of Kent State. For those new, I pick for the CPU, especially in the first round, just because I try to avoid having the CPU make really bad mistakes. So this will be another cornerback. This will be Sam Archie. And draft Sam Archie. And that will bring us up to Shark. And I don't think Shark is on, but he has a list. So we'll go ahead and let me just make sure he's not on. I think he's out with friends. Yeah. And now I'm going to go back and look at him real quick. Select. Helps if I can spell. And go ahead and draft that person. Tampa Bay is, I think that's MBB Mets, if I remember correctly. He's not on. It looks like he has a list. And we're going to stop here for a second. Houston is, I'll go back and look at that. Let me do this first, because that's a couple picks in rapid succession. So Jacksonville gets Scott Evers. Pretty solid. Not one of the best cornerbacks in this draft, but 6'2", 187 pounds. Decent agility. He's not very smart, so he's going to be out of position a lot. He can make tackles. He's a speed. He's hands. He's actually someone you could probably play nickel press or a dime press and actually have him kind of play against the run. He is a workout fanatic. For whatever reason, his morale is horrible, or maybe he didn't like being picked by Jacksonville. But you see here, he is a ball hawk. He did have 19 interceptions and 4 touchdowns throughout his career at Kent State. Up next is Mr. Archie, who's out of Georgia. Another one of Sharks folks, 6'1", 183 pounds. Pretty decent cornerback here, 82 agility, good smarts. Not the best tackler. He's more of a coverage dude. Good speed, good hands. Not a leader by any measure of the stick on the field. If you wanted to, you could probably move him to a different position right before training camp, and he'd probably get better. He is a zone corner, but you see here 16 interceptions in the SEC, and Georgia's one of the penultimate teams in the SEC, especially in the West. Then we have Sam Buford, who's out of Houston, defensive end. I was pretty high on him. The only reason why I came down a little bit is his agility, but you see here, he's got good strength. That first step isn't monster, and that could mean that a lineman gets the ability to get ahead of him. Intelligence is pretty good. He will tackle who he hits most of the time. Speed-wise, he's got good speed, so he can blast past slower linemen. And you see here that 10 sacks at the University of Houston. Not the best career, but honestly, he also only played really one season at Houston. Michael Bobo, who is the center from Iowa. This is Kevin's team now. Used to be Frankie's. Good strength, good agility, good intelligence. Speed isn't quite there, but what you can see here is he is a solid overall blocker. And again, you could move him to guard if you wanted to. He's a workout fanatic, which means his athleticism is only going to get better. So definitely a solid pick here. And let me see who Houston is real quick. I think that's one of our new coaches. And I apologize, I should know this stuff off the top of my head, but I don't always. Yeah, it's FedFan. So let me let him know. So just if we look at the war room, that's fast. If we look at the war room, can't say that today. There's still some really good players on the board. I would say don't take a quarterback in the first round if you're actually doing this live. There is not a quarterback that's worth a first round pick. The two that were probably worth it have already went. Cornerbacks deep, free safeties deep. There are still some pretty good wide receivers on there. Linebackers pretty deep as well. The running back crew is kind of a little bit of a shock that we haven't seen a running back go yet. But we'll see how that plays out. Generally speaking, I would say that Hodgson, if I look at my big board for the people, I would say they're still around. You have Logsdon at running back out of Maryland, Durand out of Oklahoma State. You have MJ White out of Georgia. On the line, you have Early out of Washington State. I think it's too high to draft him here, to be honest. But if you need one, this is where you would go. Hodgson out of Old Dominion is another person, again, probably too high. You have Corey Merrill out of Wofford at center, who is someone who is a decent pick. You have Haggerty out of Georgia at wide receiver. You have Schnell out of Oklahoma. Both of those are really good first rounds. Haggerty, I would just be a little careful with him because I don't think his hands are all that great. He is a burner, though. Too early to take a kick or a punter. But at defensive end, you still have McKinney out of Appalachian State, who is technically sound, high discipline defensive end. You have Warner Ellis out of UCLA. This is one of Stewart's boys. He's a heavy end, and he probably is as strong as Brogan is, but he doesn't have Brogan's speed. But if you want to ankle him off the end or even move him inside, he's going to hurt offensive linemen with his strength and his size. Defensive tackle, you still have Roderick Lee, who I'm actually a little shocked that we haven't seen Lee go yet. Lee's out of Clemson. He is one of Matt's projects, who is really, really good. He's still learning the position, but he can overwhelm single blockers just with his sheer mass and strength. I think it's too early to take Timmy Sharp out of UCLA. UCLA had a really good line last season, by the way. At linebacker, you still have Jared Zello on the board out of Maryland. He's a pure athlete. He's probably got the best sideline-to-sideline speed, but he's not as strong as others. You have Lee Lord out of California, who is a thinking man's linebacker. Think a little bit of Bobby Wagner, maybe. And then at cornerback, one of the people who haven't went yet is Lee Cook out of Oklahoma State. He is probably the best island corner there is in this draft. So definitely could see him going. You have Bernard Swanson out of Georgia. Again, Shark has a defensive factory at Georgia, so it's not a shock that he's there. He's not the smartest, but you can't really look past his physicality, especially on the boundary. And then you probably have Quentin Elliott out of Oklahoma as well, who's another guy that you might want to check out. You have Jorge Clark out of Georgia, who is a strong safety that he's lighter than a lot of them, but he can close on people very fast, and he will thrive in robbo coverages. You have Ted Roush out of Florida State, who's another box safety who definitely can make plays. Elijah Balderas out of Louisiana Monroe. He's very efficient. He will tackle everyone he gets his hands on. And then at free safety, you have Newton Nelson out of North Carolina. Probably the fastest pure safety in this group. And then you have Gail Witherspoon out of Iowa State, who was recruited by Shark before he left Iowa State. Kind of like him a lot. He will clean up any mistakes that are made by the people in front of him. So those are kind of the people I'd be looking out. It looks like he's taking Zello. So let's just find him real quick. Jared Zello. And what we will do is clear that. And now San Diego's up. San Diego's taking a guard. They will take Ricky Hodgson because they desperately need a guard. They do not need a quarterback. And that will bring up Mr. Stewart, who will get the next pick. So we'll look at the last two picks real quick. Jared Zello, linebacker out of Maryland, 6 foot tall, 235 pounds. He'll probably be 255 by the time we finish training camp. Sea Hill, 84 overall. Strength isn't as big as others, and kind of said that, but he does have a good first step. Not as bright as other linebackers, but you see here he's a strong tackler. He's got really good sideline-to-sideline speed. Overall, this is a Gary player, personality-wise. And he's an enthusiastic extrovert. You see he only had 89 tackles. The problem with Maryland is they are so deep that you could play one season, get over-recruited, and then the next season you're not playing. And that kind of was what happened to Jared Zello. But he did play a lot his senior year. Yeah, I kind of suspected you were going to go there. Broke my heart. I was hoping they would keep dropping. Ricky Hodgson is the Chargers pick at guard. You see here, 86 overall, 83 strength, 69 intelligence. He is a good, solid blocker. Got good speed, endurance. You can't really move him anywhere but guard unless you're willing to wait for him to get better. But 274 pancakes out of Old Dominion. Level of competition, little bit of a problem with him. He is a little undersized, but overall is a solid pick. And then we'll go back here. Should be able to find Logsdon easy. He's up at the top. So San Francisco takes Logsdon. I don't believe. Let me see if he's around. I don't believe Templar is around. I don't like this pick. Logsdon, let's talk about him real quick. Was a mainstay at Maryland, 98 overall, 83 strength, 93 agility, 64 intelligence. Not the fastest burner, but he's going to clobber anyone he runs into. 74 hands. He is one of the top 5 all-time running backs in the SNCFL. And, of course, he was there at the same time that you had Shaka Chung as well as Jonathan Early. Yeah, I know you love it. He's a workout fanatic. You can see here at almost 10,000 yards rushing. And, again, this is on a balanced offense score. 102 touchdowns. Really was the mainstay of Maryland's offense before Shaka Chung showed up. He was one of the reasons why the final season of Early they won the championship, mostly off of his back. And this is a good pick for Stewart, who probably hated how fast Nathan Ford digressed. So really, really solid pick here. Check one more time to see if Templar's around, and I'll give him 5 minutes. And then we'll keep moving. So after him will be Kansas City and then New Orleans, who are both, I still go back and forth about the age setting we have. We have a high age setting, which means that players, once they hit 30, really start to age out. You think about Lackey and Ford. That was a matchup that you thought was going to go on forever between those two running backs. Ford at San Francisco, Lackey at Pittsburgh. But really, I think Ford actually got hit harder with the age hammer than Lackey did, mostly just because Lackey had such a high work ethic. And also, I was doing abnormal things to Lackey in training camp, like doing essentially 30, it was like 27, 28, maybe 25. Yeah, it was 25. Well, I was putting like 10 points into his athleticism to try to keep him up because he had a good work ethic as well as endurance, so he could take it. But the final season, he just wasn't able to. And, of course, Lackey's back at Pittsburgh for what should hopefully be his final season. But he's dropped off pretty substantially. So we'll give it another minute, and then I will pick for Dallas. Just want to give him a chance just to make sure. Yeah, I think Logsdon's a game changer. I think Durand is a game changer. Durand, of course, comes from Oklahoma State, who's coached by Skelter. One of the things that Skelter knows is how to run the ball. So does Matt out of Clemson. Those two are probably the preeminent rushing attack specialists in the different leagues. I think I learned how to build rushing attacks off Skeletor and someone named Doc. Doc Williams, who probably arguably is one of the best SNCFL coaches I ever saw. A lot of what I know from the original game was from Doc. But I also followed Skeletor and saw how he was running the ball, and that helped me to build my rushing attacks. My passing attacks, I don't know, maybe Frankie is my inspiration. If this was bowl bound, I would tell you that it was Danny Zartuski who taught me how to throw the ball. Him and Askell. And of course, Askell's AKH at Wolverine Studios when he played bowl bound. Were the two people I took inspiration from. But in the pro game, a lot of my rushing attack is based off of Skeletor. Okay, we're going to go ahead and make the pick. Just double check, make sure he didn't come on. I don't see him. So we will pick. Kansas City will be taking a linebacker. So they will take Russell. Which kind of hurts me because I need a linebacker. Select. And then we'll have New Orleans, who is also CPU. So, but let me get this in. And New Orleans needs a wide receiver or a free safety. They have 2 picks, so I can get one or the other. We'll go free safety first. Go Gil Witherspoon. And see if Bama's on. He had a list, so wrong thing. That is Tennessee. Okay. We'll do that, and this will bring up ATL. I'll look at this because I believe I have Bill's pick in my messages, but let's go back. Okay, Joshua Humes for the Cowboys. Good developmental quarterback, not going to see the field likely anytime soon. The drop-off from LeVar Wynn to and Sean Matthews is pretty steep. Good mobility as a quarterback, maybe not good strength or hands. Is a pro bloodline, so he will get better over time, but probably not a first-round pick. Kansas City took John Russell. This is one of Stewart's folks out of UCLA. Good strength, good agility, good intelligence. Not as good speed, but he can definitely play middle, but he's undersized for that. By the time training camp ends, he'll probably be around 246 pounds. Solid, not great pick. Gil Witherspoon out of Iowa State. Again, he's more of a box safety in many regards. He will tackle everything that he comes across. Good hands, so if he does get his hands on the ball, he's likely to pick it off. Good agility, good intelligence, a little bit weak for point of attack. Also a little bit small, but you can see here that he had a pretty decent career at Iowa State. Rocky Hollingsworth, I don't know that I really talked about Rocky, but Rocky is pretty solid. He is definitely worth a first-round pick. 6 foot, 183 pounds, not strongest, but agility and is not all that great, but he can tackle. He has good hands. He has good straight line speed. The thing is, you probably want to play him in a more drop back type coverage, so that way you don't have to worry about the agility coming into play. But again, solid overall person. And you see here again, pretty solid career out of California, who is Bama, if I'm not mistaken. Atlanta, this is Bill. Let me double check and make sure I'm right on that, so I don't accidentally do something bad. Atlanta is Bill. So let me see what Bill wanted, because Bill wasn't able to make it because he's traveling. So he wanted a defensive tackle. We're not going quarterback, so stop that. So he will take Roderick Lee. And jump back. And he'll get Roderick Lee. This brings up DWK. And we'll take a look at Roderick while DWK selects who he wants. So Roderick Lee, defensive tackle out of Clemson, 90 strength, 62 agility, 69 tackling, 67 speed. Not the brightest guy out there. Good endurance for defensive tackle. He's really a lone performer when you get down to it. He does have a good work ethic. His competitiveness could be better. But he is someone you could, in most cases, slot. He will probably gain about 10, maybe 15 pounds through training camp. Driven entertainer, solid career at Clemson, Sea Hill, 58 sacks. I think one of the seasons he actually led the SNCFL in sacks. So definitely is able to collapse the middle and get at the quarterback, which is mostly based on his strength and his agility. When he's going against centers or guards, he's able to quick step them. So pretty solid pick though. Just curious from a chat perspective, who do you like so far in this draft other than Logsdon? And which team do you think is really excelling right now? Granted, Indianapolis had like 3 picks, but I think I would say that they've made the most of the 3 picks so far. Let me see here. I could probably look at New York. By the way, the Giants, really big success story last season. I think the first season there were some struggles. Didn't expect them to do as well because they had gotten rid of Marcus Witten. And DWK got them into the playoffs. They looked good throughout the season. I think that they're largely in a good position going into this year's into this season. So definitely think that they can. I don't think they're drafting for need. I think they're drafting for want. And there are some places where they probably could grab a couple people here or there. But I think all in all, just a great season from the Giants, who really turned it around. I like Fish a lot. So far, those were 2 players I would hope would drop. and they're not going to, which is going to make Pittsburgh's life a little bit more hellish. Thankfully, I did what I did in free agency at quarterback. Otherwise, I would probably be upset. And finally, Cook gets off the board. He's not rated as high by the CPU, which kind of gets back into the conversation because he's not around 2 or 3 talent. So let's look at Mr. Cook. Yeah, let me clear that out. And now bring up Denver. Don't think Prince is around. He is, so is up. So we'll take a look at Mr. Cook. Really good cornerback out of Oklahoma State. Agility is not as good as others, but that speed is really, really... He's going to compete with some of the best wide receivers in the league quite easily. Tackling's not there, but he is a ball hawk. You can kind of tell by his pass and run blocking what happened here. He was a running back. So I think that it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. You kind of see it right here. Skeletor kind of subscribes to the same viewpoint I do, which is there's certain positions athletics-wise that you can change the defense really easy. For instance, you have quarterback, you have running back, you have wide receiver. Tight ends and fullbacks traditionally make better linebackers. But in this case, definitely Cook was a really solid running back who became a cornerback. You see here 8 interceptions, 235 tackles, 3 defensive touchdowns. On a different team, he might have actually been much better. He is a little short. That's the only knock I think I have on Cook, is how tall he is. So we'll see who Prince picks, and if he doesn't, I will pick for him. But we're getting near the end of the first round. Remember, we'll stop at 31 after 31 goes because we need to allow scouting to happen. There are a couple quarterbacks who I think are second round talent that could conceivably start for a team. I think I talked about Sisson, who is the quarterback out of South Carolina. He's shown as undrafted. I think he's much better than that. It's just the game doesn't know how to handle him. He has decent accuracy, but he is a mobile quarterback who I think a lot of teams would love to have him, especially if that's the style of offense you want to run. I think what I said about him is he's definitely one of the most physically gifted athletes in the current draft class. He's tall. He has the frame of a pocket passer, but he has game-breaking speed. If you put him on like run often, he's just going to take off. Now, he's a poor man's version of Cam Newton. He's not like a rich man's version of it. So the main problem with the quarterback this year is it was just a weak class to begin with. Next year's class is actually pretty good. I'm going to have to figure out how I want to handle that. Another guy just to keep an eye on out there is Lawrence Early or Trenton Wise. Again, I think they're developmental quarterbacks. I don't think that they're day one starters unless you absolutely had to start them. I think you could probably slot Sisson in though, if you needed to. So we'll just see. We'll give Prince another minute or two, and then I'm just going to go with Early as his pick. Running back wise, I think it'll be interesting to see. This year's draft was pretty decent for running back. Next year's will be decent. Of course, either next season's draft or the season after is where you're probably going to see the best quarterbacks come out. Not next season, but the one after it, because you'll likely have Shaka Chung out of Maryland coming out. You'll have Etheridge out of Auburn coming out. And those two alone are probably generational talents. Who there'll probably be people fighting to get those picks. For me, I think I've joked about it a couple times. I may tank the Steelers intentionally just to try to get Shaka Chung. Now, it's not a guarantee, right? When he goes through the formula, he may not come out as strong because, if I remember correctly, I don't think Shaka's work ethic is that great. So we'll see how that is. Whereas I think Etheridge could be the number one. I have always dreamt of kind of playing with that type of offense in the pro league. I've had it in the college ranks before, but I've never actually done it with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's generally been pretty solid at quarterback between Hollingsworth, and then they had Pierce for a long time, and of course Pierce flicked me off on the way out. Because I refused to pay him more than $5 million, and I forget where he went, but I think he went to Jacksonville, which kind of hurt. Okay, we'll go ahead and pick. And then this will be cable. Draft recap. Don't know if he's on, but I will give him a chance. This is Brian. Brian actually had the Lions at one point and had them competing for championships. So it's good to have him back. So Edward Early, tackle out of Washington State. Really good strength, good agility, speed a little bit less than what you'd hope for, good intelligence, a very strong pass blocker, needs to improve on run blocking, good endurance, good skill, all-around good person. He's a little bit small, but by end of training camp, he'll be almost at 300 pounds. And again, a bookend tackle, which is going to make it pretty hard to get around him. So pretty solid pick, especially as we are late in the draft. Denver had a great season under Prince. Much better than I thought. And we'll wait to see what they come up with. Yeah. I think candidly, you probably got the best cornerback in the draft, Tony, and Hill. Cook is really good, but I think Hill is better. There is another player out there at cornerback that may be as good as Hill. And I say may because I only know what Gemini pulled out of the SQL database. Because I don't look at it, but having Google Gemini actually run that analysis for me helped. Now, I did modify it in certain places where I looked at the college attributes, and I was like, I don't think that's true. AI is good, but it's not that good. So I definitely don't think I'd let AI draft for me. So we'll give this a minute. I'm going to see if maybe he told me what he wanted. So we'll give it a second. I think if he picks who I think he wants to pick, I think that it's not a horrible pick. I think you just got to be patient with him because of what you're going to get out of him. He will start day one, but may not be the most blazingly person out there. So, which would be Joshua Snell. Joshua Snell is definitely not as good as Fish. but unlike Fish, he actually is more of a possession wide receiver. He will probably catch everything you throw at him, and he has enough speed to get yards after catch, which is actually really something I wish that the game tracked, which Bowlbound does, is to let you see how many yards they get after they catch the ball. But Tony, I do think you've had a great draft, man. You've had 3 picks, but I think I would say Johnson may have been too high, but he's an ankle point, especially for that defensive line. Hill is by far at 6 a really, really good pick. And then Fish at 9 is a really, really good pick. Those 2 alone, I think you have a shutdown corner and you have a number 1 wide receiver. And then you have a guy who's just going to eat space and really be able to stop the run. Now, the AFC South is not a run-heavy conference. But you will end up playing against teams like Pittsburgh. The Jets really aren't. The Jets can run the ball. It's just they like throwing the ball. But you have New England and you have Miami in the East, who both are power rushing games. And then Oakland has been going more power rushing. If Peter was still around, probably wouldn't be the case because Peter would like to throw the ball too. Okay, I am going to go and pick because it's been a bit. Just one last check, see if he's on. I do not see him on. They will pick. Okay, so they'll go with Joshua Snell. New Orleans needs a wide receiver. Did they go Manuel? They will go Haggerty. And there probably will be no doubt about where I'm going to be going with my pick. Since Stewart took the guy I really wanted, I'm going to go with the other guy. Because I need to replace my back since London is now playing for Kevin. Okay, let me make Pittsburgh's pick and then we'll loop back. Just make sure that I'm okay with this. Anybody else I might want? I need a long-term quarterback. I'm not going to get that in this draft. Need running back really bad. I need to build my line again. Yeah, I'm just going to go with who I think. We'll go with Durant. I know you're not sorry. And then we're going to pause at Hill because I need to allow for scouting to go through. So if we look at Joshua Snell, I should put that in Hill. And if visible, if you're around, you can put your draft pick in and I'll just pick it up when I run the sim tomorrow. Joshua Snell, like I said, he's more of a possession wide receiver out of Oklahoma, but good strength, good size. He's over 200 pounds, good agility, really smart player. Good speed, 85, not great, but it's still good. 93 hands, 82 endurance, and he is a really solid pick. Probably a wide receiver too, but is someone that will get things in space. I'm done with Michigan running back Stewart. I may take one next year if what's his name comes out, the one that decided to transfer from Maryland to Michigan. I can't even remember his name because I blocked the memory. New Orleans Saints take Jeremy Haggerty, who is 6'3", 199 out of Georgia. You see here, good agility, good intelligence, real big burner, but his hands are not there. This will be someone that they're going to have to work with. He's not a great skilled player either, but he is a deep threat. So I won't compare him to Dwight Hands of Stone, but he is someone that you're going to have to work with. Yes, the hate is real. Edwin Durand out of Oklahoma State, 77 strength, 84 agility, 54 intelligence, 88 speed, 66 hands, 86 endurance. He's a really solid running back. Definitely in the form of Lackey, who I think I took in the first round when I drafted him late. I prefer the power type running backs who can get to the outside. Lackey, though, I think had burner speed. If I remember correctly, he was like 91 or 92 in speed. Durand's not that, but outside of coming from one of Skelter's schools, he is really strong. Plus, he's an all-purpose running back, which means I can leave him on the field. The story on him is he probably would have been one of the top rushers of all time if he wasn't platooning. Skelter does tend to platoon his running backs. Also, if you ever look at SNCFL, Skelter has quite a few of the top running backs in the history of the SNCFL. In fact, the top running back is his. But this is an interesting one. I don't know what a pleasant counselor is. I don't even want to think about that. But good solid pick for Pittsburgh, who needs to replace Lackey and also Leroy London. But all in all, not Logsdon. The moment that I saw San Francisco, I should have probably tried to trade up to get to San Diego to try to steal him. But that's it for now for the draft. We will do scouting later. I think, if I remember correctly, I'll run scouting tomorrow, Monday, and then on Tuesday we will have the second round of draft. It will be by list, although I am always open to taking draft picks inside of the forums as needed. But you see the Bills will be up next after Invisible goes at 32, and then you have essentially a lot of CPU teams. If you're interested in joining us, the Vikings are open, the Rams are open, the Saints are open, the Raiders are open, the Bengals are open, the Seahawks are open. I think I said the Ravens already, but the Ravens are open. Jaguars are open, Packers are open. We have more human coaches than CPU coaches at this point, which is good. But again, very defensive draft. If you're looking for a quarterback, this ain't the year. Unless you're willing to wait till the third or fourth round and you're willing to put in some work. There is one quarterback that, as long as you're willing to build the system around him, probably could be a really good quarterback, which is Sisson. Matthews, again, really good quarterback, but he requires a very specific system. There's some really good running backs. I'll just go through that real quick before I wrap up. Let's just go back here. So if you look at this, Merrill out of Wofford is a good center. I think he's worth the pick. I wouldn't go after Collins too early. Definitely do not go after Jason Davis unless you're really hurting for quarterback. And again, I would say you probably could still get a better quarterback out of free agency. Roush and Clark are definitely first rounders in my mind, who are good value in the second. O'Neal is someone to keep an eye on as well. And then the person that I'm kind of shocked that's still sitting out there would be like Elijah Balderas. Again, I know why he wasn't as ranked as high. Warner Ellis is another guy that you want to keep an eye on. He's at 238. And then you have, I forget what the other guy's name is, who's actually bigger. Al Pierce out of Ohio is decent. I think he's more of a third round. Rogelio Olay is someone I would look at if you're looking for a defensive tackle in the second round. He's big and he's mobile, so he's someone that you definitely could slot in. You have also Jamie and Covey out of Maryland, who is another guy you could slot in there pretty well. So defensive end, defensive tackle, linebacker. There are a lot of linebackers still available that are pretty good. You have MJ White out of Georgia, who he's not a third round talent. He's a late first round talent. You do have Stephen Bates. As much as I hate Michigan, Stephen Bates slots well. Don't read into the A pluses. That's just because I'm not logged in as Pittsburgh right now. So you're not going to see any scouting around that. But I would say Bates is a second round talent easily. Timmy Sharp is a second round talent as well. So you still have a lot of value here. Bernard Swanson, take a look at him if you're looking for a quarterback. Cornerback. I keep saying quarterback. And then we talked about some of the other ones already. But Manuel Taylor, if you're looking for a wide receiver, is probably going to be the best value that you're going to find. Richard Hickey for tight end, another great value. So generally what you'll do, and you won't see this because I'm in as the commish, is you'd go to the open war room, like I am. So you just go, well, let me go back to show. You go to open war room, you'd highlight someone, and what you would see here instead of this is add to list or something like that, and you just add them to the list. Actually, give me a second. Let me save this, and then I'll show you. It won't be that hard. Publish, upload. Let me do this real quick, and I'll show you, Tony. I'll just log in as Pittsburgh. I think my list is blank anyways. I always worry about showing the list because then I definitely will not get anybody I want. It's kind of like why you'll never see me with Maryland show you my recruiting screens, because I did that one time, and next thing you know, everybody... No, it wasn't Maryland I did that with. It was South Carolina. For 0 to hero, and then suddenly everyone was going after every 1 and 2 star I was going after. And after that, I was like, I'm just not doing this anymore. And this will be done fast. This actually uploads very fast. It's one of the better things about the Pro League versus the College League. Thankfully, this is not GSNCFL, which is our FCS and FBS league that's combined. That one takes forever to upload because there are over 200 teams in that league. Which I think, Tony, you have Northern Illinois, Iowa, if I remember correctly. Which should be interesting. And that should be about it. And I could have turned off all the hairstyles and stuff like that. I don't feel like doing that right now. So it should be done here in a second. The other thing is, for those who are actually in the league, I will probably have the rookie draft cards up for the first rounders probably by end of day tomorrow. Let me know if you guys want me to continue to do it. If you think it's dumb, I'll stop. But generally, it's just something that I think is a good thing to try. So if you're logged in as your team, this may not work because I'm logged in as the commissioner, and there's no way for me to log out as the commissioner. But you clicked advance. I'm going to pause this real quick. And you would go to open war room. You'd see this. And if you want to add someone, you'd click it and then just click add Kirk Collins. And then, of course, as you add more people, oops, not that. Just say I want this guy. you can move up or move down based on these. If you want to get rid of them, you hit the X. And then once you're done doing that, you just leave the draft screen, and then you do your export like you normally would do. I'm probably not going to do that because those aren't guys I want. So hopefully that helps, and hopefully that makes sense. I do thank all of you for joining me for today for the live draft. We try to do these. I should be able to stream a little bit more because I'll be done with performance management in my real job here shortly, and that will stop eating up all my time. But definitely very grateful for you all spending a Sunday afternoon with me. And I think this has been a great first round. There's only 1 or 2 picks in the first round, I think, that weren't worth a first round pick. But generally, I would say most of the picks today were A's and B's. Maybe 1 or 2 C's, and then there's maybe 1 F in there. But I think it was a really solid first round, especially for Tony as he looks to build Indianapolis. If we just take a look at Indianapolis real quick, just so everyone understands what I mean by they've had a bad history. You can see here. Now, Rick didn't have them during this period. It's just I forgot to blank the name. But you see 2 straight 1-15 seasons, and then last season they were 3-13. So not really one of the strongest teams out there. Rick did actually get them into some better place. But if you go way back here where they were actually at their best, this was Butcher Jack, who is probably one of the greatest coaches that the league's seen outside of Peter. So Butcher was just one of those guys that you had a hard time getting past him. He was like the final boss in most games. You see here he won, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 championships. He was I think the leader all time before Peter showed up. You did well. You got Schnell. I can show you real quick. Let me pause just so the CPU doesn't try to do something weird. Oops, not that screen. So the person you picked was Joshua Schnell. Really solid wide receiver. Going to catch everything in space. Very good possession wide receiver out of Oklahoma. Speed will probably improve. He's got great size, great weight, and good strength. He will definitely be able to fight for the ball. So all in all, pretty good pick though. Probably the best late pick still goes to Stewart, and I still hate him for this, which was Manuel Logsdon. But probably the 3 people who fell the farthest was Logsdon, Roderick Lee, the defensive tackle, and Lee Cook, the cornerback. All 3 were probably what I would have considered top 10 picks. Durand was a mid pick, so I don't think he dropped as far. Okay, I'm going to wrap up the stream. Everyone, thank you. For those in the league, just remember we are now moving to a draft list. The file is already up, so you can do your scouting for the second round and also set your list for the second round if you want to. I'll run scouting tomorrow night, and then the actual second round will run on Tuesday. And if you want to join one of our other leagues, like the College League, most of these players come out of SNCFL, which is the main college football league here that we have. If you're interested in joining that, let me know. Some of the players do come out of GMCFL, which is our FCS league, and there aren't many coaches in that league right now. I think there are only 3. But if you're interested in that league, let me know. Love to have you there. And we can go from there. Everyone have a great day. Enjoy yourselves. Be safe.